Greetings and welcome back to another episode of Titan Repairs. Before we get started in today's project, I just wanted to take a moment and thank all of the new subscribers and even my old subscribers for the continued support. I've been reading the comments and I've been seeing the channel grow, and it really makes me so happy, and it's all because of you all, so thank you so much. Now without further ado, let me introduce today's project. So what we have here is a Nintendo GameCube controller. Now I picked this up on Goodwill's auction website. It came in a lot of GameCube controllers, so I really like the orange one, so I'm keeping this one for myself. And well, it's got some issues. So let me walk you through what's going on here. So first off, I mean, this thing showed up absolutely disgusting. This thing was very well used, that's for sure. It's got the usual scuffs and scratches that you would expect, but it's also got a completely worn out thumbstick. It's just completely chewed up, and that's definitely gotta be replaced. Now the other issue with it is the buttons are very spongy. Some are more clickier than others, but especially the A and the B button, they're just completely worn out. So what I picked up brand new contact pads. I only got them for a few bucks on Amazon, so that was pretty cool. So I figure at this point, since this is going in my personal collection, might as well completely replace those and start fresh. I also picked up a new thumbstick that'll replace this. Now there is definitely some differences with it, but we'll get more. I do have some stuff to say about the thumbstick, and we'll get more into that in a little bit. But other than that, let's get started. First thing we gotta do is we gotta test and make sure this actually works. Alright, so I have a copy of Rogue Leader for the GameCube. I'm gonna pop it in my Wii. You know, in hindsight, it probably would have made more sense to see if the controller worked first before I started buying parts. Whatever. Alright, the moment of truth. Well, the crappy A button works. Alright, so the thumbstick works. There actually doesn't seem to be any drift issues. A works fine.
Good job. You found Jabba's pouch.
B works. Two triggers work. What about the Z button? Yep, Z button works. So is the X, and the Y works, and the C works. Great. So aside from the crappy look of the controller, from all the dirt and the grime, and the spongy buttons, it's fully functional. So that's pretty nice. Alright, so let's get this on the bench opened up, and we'll get it in the sink for a nice good clean. Alright, so we have the handy dandy egg carton here. Now we're just gonna flip this over. Now the one thing about the GameCube controllers, and this is Nintendo being Nintendo, they use a special screwdriver for this, so you need a Y bit. And the one I have is, I got it on Amazon, so. My Y bits wouldn't fit in these, so I had to buy a special tool. I had to buy another one. Jeez, this one's being a real pain to get out. There we go. The screws out, we can lift this up. Let's see, what are we looking at here? So it's a lot of nastiness. Ooh. Yeah, I gotta kind of bring you all in on this. I think I can kind of see why the contact pad's not looking so good. I mean, it just looks chewed up, and there's a lot of hair and nastiness in here. Even if you look in underneath the thumbsticks, that's just a lot. That's gonna need a real thorough clean. That is just nasty. At least I'm replacing most of this stuff. Maybe nasty, but at least there's no creepy crawlies. Yeah, this potentiometers is just full of crap. Oh man. We're gonna give it the love it deserves, that's for sure. Alright, now need to try and get this out of here for the triggers. Alright, let's see what we got underneath here. Much the whole spring mechanism. So really, the way they get these apart, it seems, is you pull this metal thing back, it just clips in, and then just kind of feng shui it out. Everything just clips right in, so it's actually not that bad. And we have the shell completely taken out and this pile of parts ready to go. Oh, there is one thing I forgot to do. Let's take off the contact pad. Some nice soapy water. Get as much of this nastiness out of here as we can. We need a more coarse brush. Need some direct intervention with some more soap. There it goes. You get all the nooks and crannies. So I didn't notice this until I was ready to put this in the sink, but the Z button actually has a piece of metal on the back. I was trying to gently pry it out, but I don't really want to pull too hard because I don't want to mess it up. So I'm going to play this one safe, and I'm going to just use alcohol on the Z button. Now, only reason I'm not putting this in the sink is because this metal, if it gets wet and it dries, it very well could rust. So Again, just play it safe and just use alcohol. This works just as good. It's been a couple days now, and the controller is completely dry, so before we start putting this back together, I believe we should clean off all the dust off this board. Just need to get all this hair and gunk off. Let's see if I remember how all this goes back together. Well, buttons should only go one way. We're working on the left trigger now, and we got to get this back into here. So it's going to be a little awkward, but it's not too bad. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take out a new contact pad. You need the one that's circular like this. And then we're going to slip it in. And we're going to take the short end, slide it in, flip that over. The spring goes over this here. It's like a cylindrical thing. And then you're going to line up these notches, slide it in, click it in. You're going to have to keep it compressed as you basically feng shui it into the shell. And then it lines up with the grooves down on the bottom of the shell. Then you take the top piece, slide it on top, and that'll lock everything into place. Then we just screw it in. And then we're going to repeat that for the right trigger. Feels good. Probably should have done this before, but I can actually put on the rest of these contact pads. Let's get those done and out of the way. Before we put everything back together, I did just want to do a quick comparison of the replacement thumbsticks versus the original. Now, the original two were here, and the replacements are out here. So first we'll focus on the C button. The original one, obviously, as you can see in the video, is a darker yellow. But what these replacement cheap thumbsticks that I've been finding online have that the original doesn't have is this rubberized texture. Now that's actually really nice when you're playing a game, your finger doesn't slip off. Your finger slips very easily on these. Luckily for me, the C stick on this controller is actually in really good shape. So we're not going to be using this. I will only put that in if it was ever a last resort. Now when we look at the thumbsticks, they actually look quite similar. Obviously this is a lighter gray. I don't know if this just yellowed over time. I doubt it. Because it is a little bit of a darker gray underneath, so I don't think that it's yellowed at all. But this one's pretty chewed up. It's completely worn out, and it definitely needs to be replaced. But this one actually feels a little truer to the original. It's got pretty much similar ridges, it's rubberized, and the plastic feels to be about the same. So this I think will be a suitable replacement, but only time will tell. So now we can put the board back in. Should all just slide in. Okay, that feels good. The other thing about the original thumbsticks versus the replacements is that there's a notch on the component itself, and there's no notch on the thumbstick, so hopefully we get a decent seat on it. And when you're seating the board, you gotta kind of watch out for these here. This is for the trigger buttons. Kind of a strange design if you ask me, but you gotta make sure those are up. Now you've done it. Oi. Now I've just gone and made a mess. Okay, attempt number 2. Let's try this a different way. Let's route that cable around that post. Alright, everything appears to be seated. Okay, everything feels good. Alright, so we are back on Tatooine. Let's see how this works. Alright, the new joystick actually feels great. Triggers are working.
Good job. You found Jabba's palace.
The A button's working great. Nice and clicky, too. B button's working. Start button's working. Alright, this thing's working absolutely perfectly. Nice. Beautiful. This will be an excellent addition to my collection. So I think that's a wrap on this one. So this controller is working perfectly now. I have no complaints. Buttons feel good and nice and clicky. Thumbstick feels really good. And hey, pretty much went from the scrap pile to a fully functioning controller that I'm happy to have in my collection. So thank you so much for coming along with me on this video. If you have any comments or suggestions for future content, make sure you hit the comment section below. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe if you haven't already. And this way you won't miss any future content that comes along. And thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.